PT Neo Essential Technology, so let me give a little overview of our company through the company profile. Okay, so PT Neo Essential Technology is a dynamic and innovative company for business technology solutions and services in Indonesia. We established in 2018 as subsidiary of PT Informasi Neta Markindo Group, and we provide technology solutions that providing various industries. Okay, so this is our total group company. The total is 40 companies, which 6 companies in information technology. So for PT New Essential Technology is for IT business solutions, and for Netmarks is mostly for IT infrastructure, and also Prima Cyber Solusi is for cybersecurity. Trust Technology Tours is tour and travel in Bali, but we also doing for information technology business also, and also for Infinis is cloud services, and the last one is Digital Nusa. Digital Nusa is concentrating for software development and developer training. Okay, so this is our solutions. The first one is ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning. So our ERP solutions can help to improve business efficiency and productivity, from automating the production process, monitoring the export and import of goods in real time, to integrating and monitoring projects through one dashboard. And also we provide you the ERP with Dynamics 365. The next one is Learning Management System, or LMS. We are specialist corporate LMS for onboarding and training. And the companies can easily create materials, share, and monitor the training process. And this is really suitable for manufacturing companies, such as safety training, onboarding, compliance training, and product knowledge. The next one is Fleet Management. The solutions for fleet managers, we equip with a dashboard camera, GPS tracker, driver behavior, and fuel tracker. So this is really suitable for logistics, travel, retail, and transportation service company. The next one is our topic today. We have for mobile device management, or unified endpoint management. So some of the company give the device such as phone, laptop, or PCs to their employee. And the company need to ensure that the devices used by employees are secure and comply with company policies. So UEM comes as a solution for the protections of devices, valuable data, and also application owned by the company. Also, we already partnership with Hexnode since 2019. The next one is NX Wi-Fi. NX Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi pocket portable for traveling. We are available in 130 countries around the world. So one device can connect also to 5 gadgets. This is really perfect for travelers, corporate and travel agents customers who want to travel or business trip abroad. The next one is Global eSIM. We offer you another option for internet usage, which is eSIM or virtual SIM card. It's really easy to connect. The next one is software development. We offer you solution for companies that want to develop applications or system according to their needs. Can be in the form of mobile apps, web apps, or project integrations. And this is really suitable for industries such as from manufacturing, travel, and hospitality, IT to government. Okay, the next one is NF Insight. NF Insight is a people counting CCTV in retail area. It has features such as facial expression analysis and crowd analysis. And the last one is customer demography. This is really suitable for the retail industry as marketing tools to understand customer behavior, develop more relevant activity programs, and also attract more visitors. And the last one is IoT. Or Internet of Things. This IoT we offer is a table system for assembly that is usually found in manufacturing plants. In one case study, this IoT helped to improve quality in the assembly process of high mixed low volume production using human hands. Okay, so If you have any requirements and everything regarding IT solutions, please contact us. Okay, so we can moving on. And before I will inviting for our speakers today, let me explain a little bit to you about our speaker's profile. With 9 years of overall experience in the IT industry, he has spent the last 2 years specializing as a pre-sales engineer at Hexnode UEM. His background as a system engineer provides him with a deep understanding of technical environments, enabling him to effectively bridge the gap between technical solutions and business needs. His experience allows him to offer tailored solutions that align with both technical and operational requirements, making complex deployment and straightforward and also efficient. Please welcome our speaker today, Praveen Kumar. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, and thank you all for joining the meeting today. And I'm from the implementation team or the pre-sales team of Xnode. So I'll be the one who would walk you through the presentation and show you the features of what Xnode is capable of and how efficient you can manage the devices when you use Xnode. So now let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get things started.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. And okay, guys, Praveen is a senior solution engineer, also an expert in UAM implementation, who has handled many accounts in different regions. Okay, so without further ado, please, Praveen, the platform is yours.
Thank you. So I believe you all can see my screen. And yes, to begin with, Hexnode is a device management solution. So now we will have a deep look into the product and we'll show you how Hexnode can manage your enterprise security using the console. So before we get in further, let me tell you what Hexnode is. Hexnode is a device management solution and we operate across the globe, and we help organization to manage the devices and secure them and make sure the work data on the device is secure enough. So this is what Xnode does in short. And on the next coming slides, I'll explain you how we secure the data, how the device is managed, and how the device is tracked using the console. So now, as mentioned, we are scattered across the globe. We have an office. We have two offices in India. We have three offices in India with two sales offices as well. And we are headquartered in US. And we have an office in Philippines, Singapore, and we also have we are also having a plan to build an office in Indonesia. And we have an office in UK, Germany, Dubai, and South Africa. So these are the offices that are scattered across the globe. And this is not just a sales office. We have actual people working from them. We would provide support from these locations if required. And coming to the solutioning part, so Hexnode help organization to manage the devices. So these devices can be company-owned devices. Let's say if you have a client who was owning if they are offering devices to the employees and if they want to manage those devices, all that can be done using the Hexnode console. And these management could be like, let's say if you want to restrict the user from accessing certain applications, or let's say if you want to restrict the users from accessing certain data or website on the devices, all that can be restricted and managed through Hexnode console. And we can also manage the mobility management. So let's say if it is a bring your own device where we are just going to control only the work applications on it, that can also be done using Hexnode. And we would have zero control to the personal container, and we just control only the work data on a bring your own device. So that's possible. Remote monitoring. So let's say if you want to remote into the device and control them, that is also a part of Hexnode. So you need not have to go for an additional subscription, which is included in the Hexnode bundling, and we offer that as a solution to you. And coming to endpoint management. So let's say we don't just manage computers or mobile phones. We manage if you have a TVs or if you have Vision OS, like the Apple VR glasses, all that are supported in Hexnode. And on top of it, Hexnode also supports Linux and Chromebooks, which we have just launched, and we have started supporting Linux and Chromebooks as well using the console. And we also help managing the applications which is installed on the device. So this application management is done by, let's say if you want to deploy an application on the device, or if you want to block an application on the devices, or let's say if the user has installed an application and if you want to remove it, all that can be done from a single console. So, and all these configurations can be assigned or configured to a specific user from Hexnode. So let's say if you have different groups of people, and if you want to have this policy assigned to a set of users, that can be done using Hexnode. So this is something that we would be able to configure using the Hexnode console. So this, in a nutshell, this is what we do. And on the next coming slides, I'll elaborate how this is all done. So now Hexnode, as I mentioned, Hexnode is a cross-platform product. Like we support different platforms like Windows, Mac, Linux, Chromebook, Android, iOS devices, tvOS, and so on. So all these platforms are controlled using the Hexnode console. And this is where we do the onboarding option. So let's say if you want to manage a device using Hexnode, the first step would be the onboarding process. So we'll have to onboard the device into the Hexnode console to start managing them. And there are different types of onboarding options that are available. And one of the unique way that Hexnode offers is the zero touch deployment. So it's more like when a new employee joins the company, all that you'll have to do is just purchase the device in an authorized reseller, and you can ship the device directly to the end user. It could be on a remote location, it could be at his office. You can just send him directly, with the box. And when they turn it on, when they take the device out of the box and when they turn it on for the first time, the device will be enrolled into Hexnode, which would allow you to have complete control of the device from the day one. So when they take it out of the box and when they turn on the device for the first time, it would be enrolled in Hexnode. And let's say if there are a set of configurations that you have applied for the user, all that gets applied automatically. And if you want to automate it, it can be done using the grouping mechanism. So let's say if the user is from the sales department, and if you want to have the device assigned to the sales group, which would deploy all the sales applications on it and the sales restrictions applied on the devices, everything can be done in an automated way. And this automated enrollment option is done using, for Windows devices, it's done using Windows Autopilot. For Apple devices, it's done using Apple uh, automated device enrollment, so which is for both iOS and Mac computers. And even for Android, we can get it done using Android Zero Touch enrollment option. And we also offer some Samsung Knox enrollment method. So let's say if you have a Samsung device, we have unique deployment method for Samsung Knox, and we are an official partner with Samsung, which would allow us to perform a lot more control to the device. And finally, we also have Roam-based enrollment option. So this Roam-based enrollment option would allow us to deploy Hexnode on custom Android devices. So let's say if you have a customer who is using a custom Android device, and or let's say devices like Huawei, which does not have Android Enterprise on it. Or let's say if you have devices that do not support Android Enterprise, can be managed through Hexnode, like custom Android-based scanners or Android-based QR code readers. All that can be managed through the Hexnode console. And these devices, so let's say if they are Chinese-built devices or a custom manufactured devices, we can talk to the manufacturer and we can get it deployed directly from the manufacturer. So that is also available through Hexnode. So we have a team which can help you with all these deployment options. And before we get into the grouping mechanism, I would also like to show you the other enrollment option, in which we were talking about the automated enrollment option. And there is also a unique feature that Hexnode offers, that is the migrator. So let's say if you're using a different MDM and if you want to migrate it to Hexnode, it's always a pain when you migrate the devices from one solution to another solution. In Hexnode, we have made it a lot simpler using the migrator option. So let's say if you're using a Windows computer, or let's say if you're using a Mac computer, in general, other MDMs would require you to factory reset the device and then get them onboarded, which is always a pain because if it's a computer, it's obvious that people would have a lot of data on it, and factory reset might not be a viable option. So when you use Hexnode, we have something called migrator, which you can create a package within your Hexnode console, and you can deploy that package on the device using your existing MDM, which would allow you to perform the migration a lot simpler. So when you deploy it through your existing MDM, it gets installed on the device and disenroll the device from your existing MDM and get it onboarded on Hexnode. So there is no user intervention is required when you use this migration option. Or let's say if you want to make it seamlessly, or if you want to make it without any downtime, this is a unique feature that Hexnode offers in terms of migrating devices from different MDM to Hexnode. So this would give you, this would save you a lot of time, and this would also save you a lot of, work involved on it. So this is something that Hexnode offers and unique. Or let's say if you want to send an email, or if it is a device which is unmanaged, and if you want to manage it, you can just send them an email, and you can have them, click on the link on the email and follow the on-screen instructions to get them onboarded. So that is the regular enrollment option, which we do offer as well. So these are the enrollment method that Hexnode can help you on. Now, let's talk more about the grouping mechanism. So as I mentioned, when you enroll a device using the automated enrollment option, what happens is when the devices are assigned to Hexnode, or when the devices are enrolled in Hexnode, the device, we would always want the policies or restrictions to be applied in an automated way so that the automated enrollment is complete. So in this case, we use more of a grouping mechanism to get this done. So let's say if you're using an Active Directory, or let's say if you're using Google Workspace or Microsoft Entra or Okta, so any IDP, Hexnode offers integration with them. And if you have created groups within your IDP, Hexnode can retrieve this group, retrieve those groups and save it on Hexnode. So that if you have a group created within your Active Directory with your grouping mechanism for your HR department or for your sales or for your developers, we can create groups within Hexnode with the same mechanism so that when the user enrolls, the device will be assigned to the group. Let's say the user would be asked to enter their credentials. And once they do that, the devices will be assigned to the specific group that we have chosen from. And let's say when the device assigned to the group, based on the group that we have created, the policy gets applied. And let's say the application that needs to be installed on the device gets installed. Or if you want to have the device to be encrypted, the devices gets encrypted. And let's say if you want to have certain configurations to be deployed, everything gets deployed automatically on the device. So that's something that Hexnode can help you on. And it's not just based on the groupings. We can also create groups based on device location. So let's say if you have a user was onboarding from maybe from Singapore location. What happens is when the user onboards the device from Singapore, and if you want to have a different set of policy applied to that particular person, we can also get it done. We can have this group created based on device information. So let's say when a device is connected to a specific network, or when the device has certain battery percentage, or let's say if the device is if the device has maybe 16 gigs of RAM, and if you want to have it assigned to a different group, everything can be done using this grouping mechanism. And this groupings is always done using the conditions that we choose. So first we can choose it based on locations, or we can choose the conditions. The condition would say if the user is from the specific group, or if the user is, if the user's device information is so and so. So all these conditions are set. And then let's say if you're creating a group for all HR department, and if you do not want the same restrictions to be applied for managers, or maybe senior VPs of HR, we can create an exception for those users so that those HR managers or VPs does not get the same restriction. We can create a different policy for those people. So that can also be done using Hexnode. And once it is done, we can create this dynamic grouping and get it assigned on the user's device. So that's how seamless the process would be. And all these settings are just going to be one-time configuration. And once you do it during the initial deployment, everything will be done in an automated way. So this is something that would make, again, your life a lot easier in terms of managing the devices in a grouping mechanism, right? And yes, policy deployment. So we were talking about policy deployment and so on. So now let's talk more about what is policy deployment and what are the configurations that can be made. So here, starting from password policy. So let's say if you do not want the users to use any simple password on the devices, or let's say if you want to have the devices to be locked after maybe 5 minutes of inactivity. So all that can be configured using Hexnode using the password restriction option. And let's say if you want to deploy network configuration. So let's say if you want to have the devices connected to Office Wi-Fi network automatically. Let's say if you want to deploy VPN configurations on the devices through Hexnode, that can be made. So all these configurations can be done or deployed on the devices using Hexnode. So that is possible. And we can also configure device-based restrictions. So these device-based restrictions are in general made through uh, device configuration. So let's say if you want to restrict the users from using an USB storage, which is again a device functionality, or let's say if you do not want the users to have ability to restart their computers, we can restrict it. So let's say if you do not want them to use, camera, or if you do not want them to change their time on the devices. So all that can be configured using Hexnode. So these are device-based restrictions. And application management, which I did mention earlier, so it's more like Hexnode. Using Hexnode, you can deploy applications on the devices. And let's say if you want to block few applications, we can block them. And again, if you want to remove an application which is already installed on the device, that can also be made. And on top of it, all these application management can be done on all the platforms. And when it comes to computers, what happens is we don't just deploy or manage the application that's available on store. We can also manage the applications which is not available on store. For example, let's say if you're using Google Chrome or Teams or Zoom as an example. So these applications would not be available on the store. So what we do, we download those applications as an MSI or an exe format. And once we download that, we upload it into the Hexnode console and we get it deployed on the device. So this is how we deploy applications on the devices. And like the same way, we can also get it done on Mac computers. Like, you can download a PKG or MPKG file, or even Hexnode has the ability to deploy DMG files on the devices. In general, if you look at other MDMs, all that they do is they would have the ability to download a DMG file, but they cannot deploy it directly on the device. They'll have to convert it as a PKG file and then they can deploy it. But in Hexnode, you can also deploy a DMG file on the device directly from the console. And these files will be stored on the Hexnode server. And at this point, we don't have any upper limit storage. So you can add any number of applications as you want and you can get it deployed. So that is possible through Hexnode. And web content filtering. So this is where we block websites on the user's devices. So let's say if you do not want the users to access a specific website, we can use them to block using the web content filtering. In access management, so we can allow the user what needs to be allowed or what needs to be accessed, and the rest can be blocked using Hexnode. So these are the configurations. So these are the policies that can be deployed using Hexnode, right? And moving forward, Hexnode also have the ability to perform OS update through the console. So OS update, Like, we can, we will be able to select the patches that needs to be deployed on the device, and you can schedule them. And let's say once these patches are installed, if you want to have the devices to be forcefully restarted, or let's say if you want to, allow the user to restart on their own, all that can be done. So this OS update can also, for example, it's if you're using Windows device, and Windows releases update every Tuesdays, second week of Tuesdays every month. And when they release an OS update, it's going to be like 10 or 20 different patches available. So when you use Hexnode, we don't have to deploy all the patches. We can select the patches that needs to be installed. So let's say if you want to select maybe 5 different patches, and only 5 patches needs to be installed on the devices, we can get it done. Or let's say if you want to deploy driver updates on the devices. And again, if you do not want the complete driver updates to be installed, you can select the driver updates and you can get it deployed on the device. So that would be possible. So these are the OS update that can be deployed through Hexnode. And as I mentioned, you can select the patches, you can schedule the OS update, and you can get it deployed. So these are the OS update configuration that can be done using Hexnode. And Hexnode also offers device encryption. So let's say if you want to encrypt a device using Hexnode, that's absolutely possible. So here you can encrypt the devices using BitLocker or FileVault or Android devices, the default Android device encryption standards. So here, if you want, if you want to encrypt the device, so in general, what happens is, let's say if the devices are already encrypted and by different MDM or by the user, when you onboard the device into Hexnode, you will have the ability to retrieve the recovery key. And
Please mute.
yes, and when you enroll the device into Hexnode, you can retrieve the recovery key and save it on Hexnode. Let's say if you have a new device and if you're encrypting a device, you encrypt the device and you get the recovery key and save it on Hexnode. This would be available in case of emergency, which you can use. So this is possible through Hexnode. And even when you use the migration option, so let's say when you're migrating the device from a different MDM to an existing MDM, so what happens is in other MDMs, you will have to decrypt the device using the existing recovery key, which was encrypted by the different MDM, and you'll have to encrypt again. But when you use Hexnode, during the migration option, the devices will also fetch the recovery key and save it on Hexnode. So this will be possible using Hexnode. And we also have more automated options available. So let's say if you want to perform an action on every single day. For example, let's say if you want to enforce a restriction at 9 a.m. in the morning, and if you want to remove it at 5 p.m., we can also get it done. So this can be repetitive for every single day, maybe for Monday, for Monday to Friday at 9 to 5, or maybe, in a different timing. If you want to execute that, we can get it done. Or let's say if you want to schedule these configurations, and if you want to get it deployed on the devices, that can also be made. Or let's say if you want to get it automated, everything, like, once there is an update available, if you want to have the updates to be deployed on the device automatically, we can do it. And let's say if the device is not active, or let's say if the device update has been failed, if even then the update would trigger automatically after it's failed, so that end of the day it would make sure the device is up to date. And we can also view a report of it if there was a failure or if the devices were not upgraded on time. So all that can be done using Hexnode. So we can also execute scripts on the devices in an automated way. We can select the script and we can select on what time the scripts needs to be executed, and it gets done on the device. So that would be possible. And now comes the BYOD management. So this is more of, so nowadays, every single user has their phone and they want to access their email or Teams or their work application on their mobile phone. When they access work applications on the mobile phone, the possibilities of risking the data would be very high. and it is going to be a bring your own device, so the user can do anything on it. So in this case, to protect the data, we offer bring your own device management for mobile phones, where let's say if I'm an employee of a company and if I want to access my mobile data, I'll have to install an agent on the device. Or let's say when I try to access my email directly, I would receive a pop-up which would ask me to download an application on the device. That would be Hexnode application. And when I install Hexnode for work on my device, it would create two different containers. One would be the personal, and then the next would be the work container. And this work container is what we would have complete control to. So we can deploy applications on the work container. We can remove applications on the work container. And let's say again, if I leave the company, you as an administrator, you would have ability to remove all the work application from my mobile phone, and not just the work application. You can also remove the work data which is installed on it. For example, if I've been with a company for let's say 2 or 1 year, it's obvious that I would have downloaded a lot of information on mobile phone from Outlook or Teams. So when I download those data, when I leave the company, that data should not be stored on on my mobile phone. It's a company data, so it should be removed or it should be deleted from a mobile phone. So when you use Xnode, you would have an option to remove the data, just the work data, not the personal one, from my device. So that would be possible using Hexnode. And on top of it, let's say if you do not want me to transfer the data between work to personal container. So let's say if I download a document from Teams, and if you do not want me to transfer it through WhatsApp, you can enforce a restriction. So let's say if you do not want me to take screenshot of that work application, we can also do it, where this screenshot restriction gets applied only within the work container, not on the personal container. On WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram, they can take screenshots, but when they switch to Outlook or Teams, screenshots would not work. So these are some unique functionalities that we can enforce on the devices using Hexnode. And this is not just for Android devices. We can also get it done on iOS devices, where we can convert the work application as a managed app and we enforce these restrictions on them. So now this is how we deploy BIOD configuration on mobile phones. So that is a unique feature that Hexnode offers. And kiosk management. So here, as I mentioned, Hexnode not just manages work application, Hexnode also helps you to manage, not just the Android enterprise devices, even custom built Android devices. So nowadays, if you look at a restaurant, every restaurant would have these, where the, the receptionist makes an order using an huge tablet. So it's generally an Android device which you can install an app game and you can play on it. But what happens is it gets restricted to only that ordering system so that you can just place order on it. So that can be done using Hexnode. So it can be locked with a single application or multiple applications. Or let's say if you want to lock it down to a website, and we can get it done. And we can also, even if it is locked as a website, we can also perform certain actions remotely from Hexnode. So like, if you can remote into a device and control, and as I mentioned, Xnode does not offer remote control for computers. Even if it is an Android device, you can remote view and control the devices. So that would be possible. And this kiosk model, it's not just for custom ordering devices. You can also get it done on a company-owned mobile phone. So let's say if you're giving a device to an employee, and if you do not want the users to use any applications, we can lock it down with maybe 5 or 10 different applications that they are supposed to use, so that those are the only application that gets installed on the device. And then the rest would be blocked for the user. So that is available through Hexnode. And we can also configure digital signage through Hexnode. So let's say if you look at offices, you can push a content on the device. You can schedule those contents. You can deploy videos or pictures on the devices using Hexnode. So that would be possible. And Hexnode can also help you with POS devices, like a custom built Android device, which is again used only to receive payments. That can be done. Self-servicing kiosk that can be locked into a single application which the user can use. Or let's say if it is a public information display, and if you want to display a content to the devices, that can also be done using Hexnode. So these are some unique functionalities that we can get it deployed. And now coming to remote monitoring. So Hexnode would have, let's say if you enroll a computer in Hexnode, Hexnode would have access to the complete device details. Like you would have ability to remote into the device and control them. That's part. And then you would have ability to view the complete device details, like the device model, the operating system that it runs on, the, let's say if it is and if you want to view the battery percentage, or if you want to know the storage information, the amount of storage that it has consumed, everything can be seen from Hexnode. And we can also have the policies to be deployed automatically, and remote assistance, like if a end user has an issue, they can just let the IT administrator know, and the IT admin can remote into the end user's device and they can control it. So that's possible. And security management, like you can perform certain security functions on the device. So let's say if the device has gone missing, and if you want to lock the device, we can get it done. Or let's say if you want to factory reset the device and make sure the data is inaccessible, you can do it from Hexnode. And performing OS update on the device remotely without any user intervention. So these are some remote monitoring or remote management features that Hexnode offers. And there are some other features that Hexnode offers, like security management. Like Hexnode would allow you to perform certain remote actions again that would make sure the data on the device to be secure. Hexnode would allow you to encrypt the devices through Hexnode console, so that would be possible. And let's say if you want to maybe manage the local user accounts on the device, like if you when it is a computer, and if you want to elevate the user permissions to an admin, or if you want to bring him down back to standard user, all that can be done using Hexnode. And device dashboard. So all these devices can be managed from a single console, and you can perform all these actions from a single page from the Hexnode console. And this is a SaaS-based model. So you can access Hexnode on any devices. It could be a mobile phone or a computer or a tablet to control all these devices. And there are certain reporting features that Hexnode offers. So let's say if you want to perform an action on the device, and if you want to have access to a report of the actions that you have performed on the devices, that can be seen. And let's say if you have like 5 or 10 different IT administrators, and if you want to see what the IT administrators have performed on the devices, you can track it, and you can schedule these reports and have them sent to specific people. And location tracking. So Hexnode also offers location tracking as a solution. So let's say if you want to track the device location, and if you want to view the current location of the device, that's available. And if you want to view the location history on the devices, even that can be done through Hexnode. You can track the location history anywhere in between 15 minutes to 24 hours. For example, if you choose 1 hour as an location tracking interval, every 1 hour location of the current device would be updated on the portal for you to track it. So that is possible. And we can also manage rugged devices. So as I mentioned, custom built Android device, the devices that are used on warehouses, that's used for scanning. Let's say if you look at Amazon delivery guys, nowadays when they deliver a device, deliver your product, they'll use a scanner based, Android device to scan your orders before delivering it. So all that can be managed using Hexnode. And mobile expense management would allow you to monitor the network consumption on the device. So let's say if you do not want the users to use more than maybe 5 gigs of data on the devices, we can enforce a restriction on it. And if you want to monitor the amount of application that has the amount of data that has been consumed by an application, we can monitor that. So all these monitoring is also possible using Hexnode. So these are the complete features that Hexnode offers, and so these are some functionalities that can be again enforced on different platforms, not just one. Like different platforms, and we will be able to manage them. And yes, Xnode would Xnode the main vision of Xnode is to manage all the devices from a single console, so that we don't want the IT administrators to jump between different solutions to different perform different functionality. So let's say if you want to remote into the device, you can do it through Xnode. If you want to perform an action through the devices, we can do them through Xnode. And if you want to patch update the devices, again, that's available through Hexnode. So you will be able to perform a lot of different functionality from a single solution, which would make, again, the IT administrator's job a lot easier. So this is what Hexnode does. And in short, let's say if you want to know more about deploying, how to deploy Hexnode in in your customers or in your customers environment, we can we would recommend you to perform certain functionalities, like we can help you in planning the deployment. Like we would have to understand what kind of requirements they have, and we'll have to understand how this is going to work. First, we'll have to plan the requirement, and once the requirement or objectives are planned, we can get into the deployment option. So let's say if the devices are currently managed by different MDM, we can create a portal. We can create a demo account through Hexnode, and within that demo account, we can maybe enroll or migrate a couple of devices, and we can create policies from Hexnode. So let's say if you're having a set of policy that's available through your current MDM, we can replicate those policies within Hexnode, and we can apply it on the test devices. And once you test them, once everything is all good, all that you'll have to do is just deploy the package on the devices through your existing MDM, and it would migrate the devices directly into a Hexnode, and that would allow you to onboard the device in a lot easier way. So this would allow you to migrate the devices or deploy Hexnode on the devices. And once the device deployment is done, we can make sure the configurations or the policies or everything is done seamlessly. And we can also make sure all the application that should be available on the devices are installed, and we can test them out. And finally, we would help your clients to configure or to show them how to enforce these configurations on the devices. We do help them in creating configuration. So let's say, for example, if you have a client who is using mobile phones today, and tomorrow if they are planning to manage their computers, again, we do offer free service, or we can help you in onboarding computers, and we will show you how it works. And our team offers dedicated support which works 24 hours 5 days a week, and we are planning to do it for 7 days, which would be available soon. And any questions that you have, just send us a message. We are available through chat, phone, or email. Let's see if you would like to maybe do a Zoom session for us to look into your configurations and help you on. That is all possible through Hexnode. That is the support that we offer. Now, if you want to, as I mentioned, Hexnode is a SaaS-based solution, and if you want to manage the devices from Hexnode server, so we have data centers across the globe. So we have a data center in Middle East, US, UK, Germany, and we also have a data center in India. And on top of it, we are also planning to expand our data center across the Pacific region. So that would also be available soon with the Hexnode, so that your data would be hosted on your location on AWS. So that is also available through Hexnode. And yes, now let's talk more about the Hexnode's unique features when compared to certain MDMs or certain competitors in the market. So let's say if you're using Intune, Hexnode would offer web application kiosk. So let's say if you would like to lock it down with a website, we can get it done. You can deploy contents on the devices. So let's say if you have a document that needs to be deployed on the device, we can deploy it using Hexnode. or if you want to monitor the data consumption on the devices, that's possible. And Hexnode offers our own remote control solution so that you don't have to purchase anything in addition. For example, if you're using Intune, Intune may be free when you're using E5 or E3 subscription. But if you want to perform certain functionalities, like if you want to remote into the device and control them, that would be of an additional cost. But Xnode offers the remote control as a subscription within our within our offering, so that you don't have to go anything in addition to it. Let's say if you are using Jamf, so Jamf is again not only for Apple devices, but Xnode can help you manage different platforms in single console. We offer geofencing. So let's say when a device leaves a specific location, so we don't just monitor device location. When a device leaves a specific location, we can trigger an alert to the administrator, and you can also enforce a restriction on the devices. So let's say when a device leaves a specific location, if you want to lock the device automatically, you can get it done using Hexnode. So that would be possible. And digital signages, like Android based, displaying a content on an Android based device, so that is possible. And in Xnode offers remote view and control as as an inbuilt solution, not as an add-on. And manage engine, so again, Xnode has the ability to lock the devices, where manage engine just has the ability, either you can choose to factory reset the device, or you would not have ability to lock it. So enabling this lost mode would allow you to enter a custom message on the devices, and that message that you enter. So let's say if the device is lost and you don't have to wipe it, you can just initiate a lost mode that would display a custom message on the device and make it inaccessible. The user, even if they restart the device, the device would be locked to a specific message that you enter. So that would be possible. And we can also perform secure token management using Xnode. So again, that's a unique feature that Xnode offers. And our support is again complete free, where manage engine support is of an additional cost. Like based on the pricing plan that you choose, your support would be offered. But in Hexnode, any plan that you choose, even if you choose the basic subscription, our support will be there to help you. And Jump Cloud. So as I mentioned, Xnode offers unique ROM-based enrollment for custom devices. So that's something that we can do. And we can also create a virtual catalog for the user. So let's say if you're blocking the users from accessing certain applications, instead, we can block the users from installing any applications, and we can offer them a catalog so that they can just download, they can just pick and download those applications on the devices, and rest will be blocked. we can we can configure web content filtering, like you can block the users from accessing certain websites. That can be done using Hexnode. And we also offer extensive integration with specific ticketing services. So let's say if you have if you're using Zendesk or maybe Freshservice, when a device goes out of compliance, and if you want to trigger an email alert to the administrator through the ticketing services, that can also be done using Hexnode, where Jump Cloud doesn't offer that as a solution. And as I mentioned, Xnode is scattered across the globe. So we have customers from different verticals on different area from the world. So here are some sample use cases that you can use. So Nat Health has been using Hexnode for almost for 5,000 devices, which is locked on kiosk. And they are, this is their use case, to be honest, that they use. And we also so we also have customers from Middle East who uses Hexnode for bile management. And we have the use case, and again, from Dubai hospitals, properties. So yes, coming to the integration part. So Hexnode offers official integration. I'm sorry. Yes, Hexnode offers official integration with Apple School or Apple Business Manager. We are an official Android enterprise partner. And we also offer integration with Active Directory or Azure or Google Workspace or SCCM. So all these IDPs or on-premises system management, we can get it done using Hexnode. And on top of it, we're also an official partner with Zendesk or Freshservice or uh, you know Samsung Knox devices, so which would allow us to perform seamless integrations with enterprise use case. Now, coming to the technologies that we are partnered with, we are again an official partner with Samsung or LG or Sony devices. And again, if you have a custom devices like Kyocera, CipherLab, or Honeywell or Zebra devices, we go well with them, and we also offer OEM customizations with these device manufacturers. So these are some unique functionalities that Xnode are partnered with. So this is again just a list that we are mentioning, but Xnode offers a marketplace where you can see all the technologies that we are partnered with, and we can, let's say if you're having a device manufacturer which is not listed there, and if you want us to talk with them and be a partner to for your deployment, we can definitely do that for you. And this is Xnode is again across the globe, which would allow at this point we have Xnode would, as I mentioned, Xnode would allow you to save a lot of time and effort which is put by an IT person. So this is something that we were able to save in the past year. And yes, so now yeah, these are some official location addresses and which you can reach us out. And yes, do y'all have any questions or anything? You can just reach us out through the contact on the left side of your screen, or you can just scan the QR code, which you can get in touch with us. So do y'all have any questions or anything that you would like to know more?
I think you'll find the Q&A is quite full.
Great. So now let's maybe let's do a quick deep dive into the actual console, in which I will show you all the configurations that we were talking about, how they are done using Hexnode. So that would help you understand more on the configurations part. So talking all is good. Now let me show you how this is all made on an actual Hexnode console.
Okay, thank you so much for your very informative presentation, Praveen. So, do you want to showing the demo first, or we can moving on through the questions from our participant?
Yes, we can now get into the questions part, and then I can show you the portal.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, absolutely. Okay, okay, great. Okay, so we will choose some of your questions through the chat and Q&A sections. So maybe the first one is from Mr. Bryans. Okay, hi, Mr. Praveen. How can UAM solutions maintain a high level of security for Android devices in an enterprise environment without negatively impacting device performance or user productivity, especially considering the diverse range of Android hardware and software configurations? And what strategies can UAM solutions employ to effectively manage and secure Android devices in scenarios where users have significant freedom to install third-party apps, potentially exposing the enterprise network to security risk? Okay, so maybe Praveen, please answer the question.
Absolutely. Yes, that's a wonderful question. So here, in terms of managing, yes, in terms of managing these devices, Hexnode, let's say if they have their own freedom of installing any application that they want, there are different types of enrollment option that's available. So there is something called Android Enterprise Device Owner, which is corporate enabled with a work profile on it. So in this case, the devices will be offered by the company to the end user, where the end users can create a work container on a corporate owned device, and they can use any application on the device that they want. They can use Facebook, or they can use Netflix, or they can use any application and they can install it. But the work profile which is created on the work device would be separate, so that the work data is separately containered and the work data is saved on the work profile on corporate owned devices. So that's more of a WPC model which we use to manage the work container. So end of the day, let's say if the user plans to leave the company with the mobile phone, you will still have ability to lock the device and make it inaccessible. But until then, they can install any application they want, they can use anything, but the work data on the device would still be safe enough or would be secured enough. I hope this answers your question.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Praveen. Okay, moving on to the next questions. This is from Mr. Budiman. Mr. Budiman asking, what's the minimum Android version which still can be used to interact with the Hexnode UEM? He heard there's some issue of remote screen sharing on Android 15 limited by Android security settings requiring user interactions. Is this something that Hexnode UEM already conquered?
Yes, to be honest, to begin with the first question, the minimum version. So Xnode, you can use Xnode on devices that runs on Android 5 and above. We can connect it through ADB, and you can enable Xnode for work application, or you can the device owner permissions can be enabled, and we can manage them. And unless it's Android 7 and above, you can use the regular enrollment option. You can just tap the screen and you can scan the QR code and get it onboarded. That's for company on devices. And in order to manage BIOD model, so I believe the BIOD model was launched on Android 6 and above. So we will be able to create container on those devices and we can manage them. The only concern in terms of managing the latest version is on Android 15 and above. I did look into our testing team, and we were testing on a beta version on Android 15. So it's more of user security oriented, the privacy oriented. So let's say if you want to remote into an Android device without any user intervention, that is possible on company on devices. And if it runs on Android 14 and above, the user intervention would be required. So it's more oriented to the privacy of the user, but still you would have control to the device, and you can remote view or control, you can deploy applications, you can enforce, you can lock the device to a specific application, and all that would still work without any issues. It's just that they are secure, they are highly, they are advancing their security model, which is still a good in terms of managing the data, so that the device possibilities of devices getting hacked, or the possibilities of devices getting malware attack is real low. So the data on the device would still be secure. I hope that answered your question, Buddhiman.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Praveen. Okay, so before we jumping to another questions, just a reminder to you guys, please fill in the survey link that was sent in the chat column, please. Okay, so we can moving on to the next questions. This is from Miss Lina. Miss Lina asking, it's very interesting explanation about UAM and MDM from Hexnode. The question is, can the UAM show statistic and notifications? And can it also show its compliant requirements? And also, how about the geofencing features on this Hexnode UAM?
Exactly. So regarding the email, the statistics notification. So let's say if you want to, let's say when a device is, when the device battery percentage falls below maybe 10 or 20, we can also set the number. If you want to be notified, we can trigger a notification on the device. Or let's say if the device, if you're not supposed to install an application on the device, and the user manages to download an APK and install it, that would still be blocked, and that would trigger an alert to the IT administrator saying that this particular user has tried installing this application, which is not supposed to do. So that notification gets triggered. And in terms of that's more of a security prevention, and in terms of statistics monitoring, I would say we can schedule a custom report through Hexnode, and we can schedule those reports so that we can add the columns that we require. So let's say if you want to view the Wi-Fi network that it is connected to, or let's say if you want to view the number of applications that the device has installed, all that can be customized, and we can create that as a report, or which gets triggered to the IT administrators or maybe to the auditing team, and we can get it done. And regarding the compliance, Xnode has a list of compliance. When a device goes non-compliant, it would trigger an alert to the IT administrator, and on top of it, we can also trigger an action related to it. So let's say when a device goes non-compliant, and if you want to restrict the user from accessing the work data, or if you would like to restrict the users from connecting to office Wi-Fi, all that can be done. So this is more of a trial which we can get it done using Xnode. So if this happens, the blocking gets done. So that's something that would be able to achieve. So, and I believe we're asking about the geofencing, right? So yes, Xnode offers an immersive geofencing feature. You can track the device location, and you can enforce a restriction to it. So it's best that I quickly share my screen so that I can show you these features around. Give me 1 minute. Yes, I believe you can see my screen, right? So this is the console, and this is the geofencing feature. So this is where we create a geofence. So let's say, so this is the current location that I'm in right now. And if you want to create a customized geofencing, we can create an area in which when the device leaves the specific location, it would trigger an alert to the IT administrator. And if you don't want an alert to be triggered, if you want the device to be blocked accessing certain stuffs, we can also get it done. So we can create a custom geofence, and we can get this achieved using the Xnode console. So this is some I would say this is a unique feature that Xnode offers with customized geofencing feature. Yes, I hope this answers your question, Lena.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Praveen. Okay, we're going to the next questions. This is from Mr. Tumelo Mansha. This question is it possible to configure the system to send specific alerts or notification to designated administrator or user rather than notifying all administrators?
Absolutely, that is again a wonderful question. So let me show you that. So we have this option called notification. So this is where email alerts gets triggered. So these are the notifications that we can choose, or we can customize it. So let's say we don't want our emails to be flooded with Xnode email. We can select the notifications when a device gets disenrolled, or when a device is marked as disenrolled from an administrator, or when an end user disenrolls the device on his own, or let's say when a lost mode is activated, or let's say when when a domain is deleted within your Xnode account, or let's say when a lost mode is disabled. When it is activated, we can get a notification, and when it is disabled, we can trigger a notification. And these are for administrators, and these are for user notification. So let's say when a user uh, tries to remove an Hexnode agent on the device, they would be notified. When the device goes out of compliant, when the devices are non-compliant, the users would be notified on it. Or when the device is compliant, when the device is adhered to the policies that is created through Hexnode, it gets notified. And we also have an ability to exit out of the kiosk manually, a more of a fail-safe method. We can get it configured. And if the user exits out of the kiosk using that option, we can also get it notified. If you do not want that user to be, and configurations to be made, we can also get it blocked. Or let's say if you're allowing it, we would have ability to track that information as well. So these are the notifications that can be configured for the user, and we can get it pushed. And I hope this answers your question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Praveen, for the answer. Okay. Next, we will going through to Mr. Baginda Miraj William. Okay, so the questions is he would like to ask a question regarding Hexnode security against devices that are stolen. How does Hexnode manage and lock devices, especially Android or PC, whose security is still low and very easy to do factory reset or hard reset? Where on Android can do factory reset or flashing, while on PC can easily factory reset or unlock the hard disk or just replace the hard disk.
Yes, again, that's a wonderful question in terms of computers. So let's start with Android devices. So for Android devices, we can enforce a restriction on the devices that would make sure the users does not have ability to factory reset the device. So now this is where we create policies, and we get into Android and we have restrictions. So when we get into restrictions, so you can restrict the user from performing factory reset, and on top of it, you can also prevent the users from performing an advanced factory reset on the device. So this advanced factory reset, when the devices are turned off, they can press and hold the power button and the volume button. They can get into the recovery mode and they can factory reset, right? So even that can be prevented using Hexnode. And it's not just that prevention. You can also restrict the user from connecting the device to a computer and performing ADB commands to reset. So everything can be restricted using Hexnode, so that no matter what, if it's a company-owned device, they cannot factory reset it. And let's say if they were able to do something and get it factory reset, if the devices are enrolled using the automated enrollment option, when the device is factory reset and when it is turned on, the devices will be enrolled back to Hexnode. So that is something that we can get it pushed on the Android devices. Now, coming back to computers, for Windows devices, again, we can enforce a restriction that would prevent the users from performing factory reset on the devices. So preventing the users from performing factory reset is possible. And on top of it, the other questions that you add, removing a hard disk and what happens when it happens. That's again a wonderful question. So we can encrypt the device using Hexnode. That would prevent the users from, if the hard disk is removed, the hard disk, when it's connected to a different computer, they'll have to enter the recovery key. So it goes inaccessible or unusable. But on the computer end, we are working on a feature to lock the BIOS, so that if when BIOS is locked, the user cannot factory reset the device. So factory reset will be prevented on the devices directly using BIOS lock. So that's something that we can, that we are working on, and it's in the final phase of development. But again, even for computers, we have automated enrollment option, which would allow the user to get it, even if they factory reset, the devices would be enrolled back to Hexnode. So we have prevention method that would restrict the user from performing factory reset. And we also have a fail safe. Even if they factory reset, the devices will be enrolled back to Hexnode, allowing you have complete control of it.
Okay, thank you so much for the Great answer, Praveen. Okay, so we move questions. This is from Mr. Dave. He asking, you mentioned things like TVs. Do you apply the endpoint protection to the IoT devices in the BIOS?
So, so if it is an Android device, even if it is a custom built Android device, we will be able to manage the custom built Android IoT TVs through Hexnode. So that would be possible. But in terms of security, it's more of the Android device compatibility. So let's say if the device is compatible enough, or let's say if they were able to enable accessibility permissions, or such permissions can be enabled on the device end, we would be able to control it, and we can enforce or we can deploy policies on it. And in terms of BIOS configuration, if it is an IoT, Windows IoT, I believe we might get into BIOS configuration. But if it is an Android, uh, if we are going with ROM, that would allow us to install Hexnode as a system application, and we would have control to it. And when it is installed as a system application, I mean, when it is on an Android device, the applications like phone or contacts, or maybe settings, or are installed on the ROM of the device. So that is how Hexnode would be installed on the device. So you would have a lot more control. And if you would like to have a custom deployment done on those devices, that would also be possible using Hexnode.
Okay. Okay, thank you again, Praveen. Maybe we can bring for the next questions. This is from Mr. or Miss Claude. He asking, how do we cover MSP where we have different companies under management or multi-tenant? Does Hexnode have out of the box policy, for the example GDPR, security, etc.?
Yes. So regarding your question regarding the MSP model, yes, we do have MSP model where, let's say if you are an official partner with Hexnode, you can add multiple companies under you, where we can add you as a technician on that, so that you can log into the company. Let's say if you have 5 different companies, you can log into company 1, and you can manage the devices within the first company. And if you log into company 2, and you can manage it. Let's say for company 3, if the end users, or if the company, they want to manage the devices on their own, they can also do it. So we can create them as an IT administrator, so that they can log into their console, and they can manage the devices on their own, which we don't have to manage it. So that is all possible using Hexnode. And your second question, can you repeat that again? I'm sorry, I missed it. There are two parts on the question, right? MSP model,
Yes.
and then the other one, what?
Okay, so the first one is like that. And does Hexnode have out of the box policies like GDPR, security, etc.?
Yes. So regarding the out of the box policy configuration, so it's more like, at this point we'll have to create policies on our own. We can help you creating policies. So let's say if you are an MSP, we can help you create policy for one portal, and you can duplicate it for the next. And even if you want us to create policies for your second account, that can also be made. And let's say if you want to enroll the device, or if you want to create it as a template and save it as a template, that is something that we are working on for template model. But at this point, it's more like we will be there to help you in creating policies, and we'll be there to help you create a sample policy that meets GDPR or SOC 2 compliance.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Praveen, for the answer. Maybe we can moving on to the next question, because we got a lot of enthusiasm right now. Yes. Okay, so for the next question. Okay, please wait. This is from Mr. Budi Hertanto. Okay, his question is, most modern MDM have the same features or capabilities like Hexnode. So what is the most important differentiation of Hexnode compared to the others?
Wonderful. That's again a wonderful question. So let's say if you would like to compare Hexnode with different MDMs, again we'll have to compare it based on specific MDMs. For example, and if you want to talk about the giants in the market like Jamf or Intune, what happens is if it is Jamf, they are focused only on Apple devices, and if it is Windows and if it is Intune, you will be able to do a lot more customization on Windows devices. But if it is a mix of different platforms, and let's say if you're using Google Workspace within your environment, then Intune would not be the right option. When you use Hexnode, we are compatible with different platforms and we are a lot more easier to use. So I believe you can look at the console and any configuration that you would like to do, it's real simple to get it done. And on Intune, it's especially if you want to become an, and if you want to manage devices through Intune, you'll have to, I would say you'll have to study a lot. And let's say if something doesn't work as expected, reaching their support is a nightmare. But when you use Xnode, you can just contact us through just like click off a button, and you can get help from our support team. And you will be offered with direct support. You can call us directly, we'll be there. And you can also reach us out using the AI, which is again available with inbuilt on our portal. So let's say if you want us to create, if you want to create a custom script, or if you want to, maybe if you want to have access to a certain document, our AI can help you on. Or if you want to talk to our support team can help you with this issue. So that's all possible. And on top of it, when it comes to managing the devices, as I mentioned, Xnode has the unique feature of migrating the devices. So let's say if you want to migrate it from one MDM to another MDM, it's again always a nightmare. But when you use Xnode, it would make life a lot easier in migrating the devices. So this is all possible when you use Hexnode. And again, when it comes to features or functionality, any feature that the operating system allows, the MDMs can do. For example, let's say, let's say let's say Android device is an example. If you want to remote into an Android device, that's all possible. You can control it. But if you want to remote into an Android device without any user intervention, that can be done up to Android 14. In Android 15, Android has restricted MDM to remote control without user's intervention. So that is an OS level limitation, I would say. Any MDM in the market will not be able to crack it until the operating system allows it. And again, for example, let's say if you talk to Android, when it comes to application deployment, most of the MDMs in the market can deploy applications because that is done using the feature that's offered by operating system. So Android Enterprise Device Owner is what allows application to be deployed with certain permissions enabled on it. So this can be done on any MDMs. But when it comes to application configuration, that is a unique feature very few MDM offers. For example, let's say, let's take Gmail as an example. So let's say if you want to add an email address by default, let's say if you want to choose your own authentication method, or let's say if you want to have a customized a login certificate to be added. So all that can be deployed through Hexnode on the devices. You can also have a custom signature added on the device so that by default, when an email is triggered from Gmail, it would have the default signature that's added here. So these are custom configuration that can be done on an application. So that's possible. And we can also enable permissions for applications. For example, if it's an Android device and when you're using Instagram for the first time, when you open Instagram and if you try to access camera, it would request you to enable permissions for camera, or it will ask you to enable storage permissions. So when you use Hexnode, all these permissions can be enabled by default. So for example, within Gmail, if you want to allow Gmail to access contacts, you can enable it by default so that it gets enabled by default. If you want to block this permission on that application, you can configure it through Hexnode and get it deployed. So these are some unique features that Hexnode offers in terms of with different competitors, right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Praveen, for the wonderful answer. Okay, so we can moving on to the next questions. This is from Mr. Hari. Mr. Harry, he asking, can we enroll the devices using Okta or G Suite authentication if the Hexnode UEM already integrated with the related directories? And also, can we secretly install application and push rules which solely affected the device's work profile? Please answer the question, Praveen. Yes.
Yes. So Hexnode does integrate with Okta, Google Workspace, and Active Directory or Azure. So using this integration, when the user, for example, if they are logging into computer, and if you want more of a single sign-on, that the user wants to use the same Okta or maybe Google Workspace credentials to log into the computer, that can be done using Hexnode. Or if you want to deploy an application on the work container on an Android device, that can also be made. You can install applications without any user intervention, which gets deployed on the devices. And let's say if it is a company on device, it gets installed on the direct device itself, so that there is no other, there is no there is no container on the company on device, so it gets installed on the device directly, and that would allow you to manage it.
Okay, thank you, Praveen, for the answer. And hopefully, the answer is answering all of your questions for the participants. And we can going next to Mr. Andrew Lesel. Okay, so he asking about how is the evolution of AI and machine learning shaping UAM technologies?
Yes, again, that's a wonderful question. So when it comes to AI and machine learning, so what happens is AI can help you in managing the devices, like, create certain scripts, or, in terms of, uh, you know, in terms of managing the devices, it's more like the end user would manage the devices on the console. And in terms of performance, or is if that's more like, no, I would say, if you would like to enforce more of the device based performance, if that's something that you're concerned about, Xnode is just an agent which gets installed on the device, which is a lightweight agent which less than maybe 100 MB. So that would not consume a huge data until anything is pushed on the device directly. So that's how it works. And in terms of machine learning, I would say that's done using, when certain configurations are made. So let's say if you want to perform a configuration, so we offer certain configurations on the backend, or we use our developers to create certain policies or configuration using machine learning and AI. So that's something that we do.
Okay, thank you, Praveen, for the answer. So, last questions. This is from Mr. Simon. He asking regarding managing kiosk. Would it require that the customer buy Hexnode on subscription model?
Yes. So in order to use kiosk model, for example, let's say if you have 10 different devices or maybe 20 different devices, if you want to lock those 20 devices on kiosk, we would need a subscription from Hexnode. And kiosk, I would say, if it can be done on a basic subscription. You can lock it down with a single application, or you can lock it down with multiple applications on it, and we can get it deployed on the device. So that's absolutely possible.
Okay. Thank you so much, Praveen, for all the wonderful questions. So, I think we will end the Q&A sessions here. So maybe if you have any unanswered questions, you can contact us via email to marketing@neoessential.co.id. Okay, so maybe before we finish, I would like to announce the three best questions that have been submitted. Okay, so the winners are, okay, so the third one is Miss Asna. And also the second one is Miss Lina. And also the first one for the winner is Mr. Budi Hertanto. Congratulations, guys, for the winning. Okay, so our team member will thank you for the prize. Okay, so maybe we will recap for the key points today of the webinar. The first one is, of course, Hexnode can support cross-platform and also compatible with Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, tvOS, and also Fire OS. And this is ensuring flexibility across diverse devices. And also Hexnode can enhance security with the features include device encryptions, web content filtering, kiosk mode, and remote security action to safeguard enterprise data. And also proven case studies highlight reduced workloads, improve employee performance, and significant cost savings for businesses adopting Hexnode UEM. Okay, so thank you so much to Praveen Kumar for his excellent presentations. Thank you so much, Praveen, about everything and for your support for today's webinar. Maybe you have some words to us, maybe before we closing today's webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say this was a wonderful webinar, and thank you so much for all these questions. And thank you so much for making this more interactive today. And yeah, it was a pleasure seeing you all today on meeting. Yeah, and thank you so much
Okay.
for your time as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Praveen. Okay, once again, okay, thank you. Also, thank you for all the participants for joining today's webinar. So we will send you a recording of this webinar and also the content and everything of the presentation materials via email. And see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.